So again, thank you for joining us. My name is Barry Erickson. I'm Community Engagement Coordinator here at Wheaton Public Library. We're delighted to bring you yet another of these monthly art demonstrations in partnership with the DuPage Art League. Founded over 60 years ago, the DuPage Art League is dedicated to promoting and encouraging the visual arts through classes, workshops, gallery exhibits, and public programs such as this one. We are grateful to the Art League for arranging tonight's demonstration by acclaimed artist Michael Latala. And now I'm going to turn the mic over to the Art League's Sandy Winter.
Thank you, Barry. Hello, everyone. I am Sandy Winter, Vice President of Activities at the DuPage Art League. And as Barry said, if you are watching this presentation virtually and you are outside the Chicagoland area, we ask that you let us know where you are located. And thank you for joining us as we, in partnership with the Wheaton Library, host artist Michael Latala. Michael has a successful career as a storyboard illustrator working on staff at Draft FCB and Ogilvy and Mather, two of Chicago's largest advertising agencies. Pursuing his love of painting, he studied with Scott Burdick, Daniel Gerhertz, Romel de la Torre, and Richard Schmid. Transitioning to painting full-time, Michael paints live at weddings, teaches painting workshops, and does commission work. His preferred mediums are charcoal, pastel, and oil. Please join me in welcoming this month's artist, Michael Latala.
Okay, so Michael, go ahead. We have the first slide here, and then the second one is your reference photo, and we can go back to that at the end of the slideshow.
Sure. Can I just say first, thank you, everybody who's here and watching virtually. I want to thank the Wheaton Public Library for giving me this opportunity, the DuPage Art League, and to Barry, Sandy, and Dawn for helping set all of this up. Okay, so I'm going to jump right in and talk about start with some charcoal drawings. So the thing I love is to draw from life. So I have a studio in Arlington Heights I rent with 4 other artists, and every Tuesday and Thursday we have live models, and that's where I get a lot of my practice. And it's my favorite thing to draw from life. So these charcoal drawings were done from life in a 3-hour session with breaks. So probably 2.25, 2.5 hours. But anyway, yeah, so that's what these next, how clear is that? Yeah, so these are, kind of small. They're probably about this size, which size I'll do tonight. And it just helps my drawing and helps everything I do when I'm at wedding paintings. This is my practice. So I keep my eyes sharp, and I just love drawing from life. It's my favorite thing. So these are all done at Northlight Studio, the studio in Arlington Heights. And we have great models. Okay. Thank you. All right. I paint a lot in oil. So then the still life was done from life. It was set up, actually started as a demonstration for a class I was teaching at Northlight. And this again, a model, a 3-hour head study done in oil, uplighting. This was I painted when I had a studio in Evanston. I just stood across the street from this house and painted it. This was done in a friend's yard. Again, at Northlight, we just went to her yard instead of being inside, like a 2.5-hour study in oil. This was a head study of 4 colors, red, yellow, black, and white, which for faces, it's really nice. You don't need a million colors to get like this. This here is really just black and white, and it's ivory black, which is kind of blue as opposed to lamp black, which I think is a little warmer. A warm yellow, a cad yellow, medium. I use a permanent red and medium instead of cadmium red, ivory black, and titanium white. So I really like doing these 4 color studies. It just keeps it simpler. With warm yellow, red, black. I use the black as a weak blue. Yeah, and a lot of white. I use a lot of white. I squeeze out a lot of paint when I'm painting, which the people I studied with. And this is another head study in 4 colors. at the studio. Actually, that one started as I worked on a fella. He says, "Oh, it was a workshop," and I worked on his painting, and then he said, he says, "Could you just keep going and finish it?" So this is a dear friend of mine, and so I gave it to him. So anyway, and I do some gouache. I've been going outside, and it's easier to travel. Gouache is an opaque watercolor, so it's a water-based, and it dries quickly, but is unlike acrylic, you can re-wet the edge. Acrylic, once it's dry, it's dry. You can't soften an edge, but gouache you can. So it's nice. I bought like a little kit, and when I travel, or like this was in the Skokie, I don't know how the color is. Oh, sorry, I'm going front. That's not bad. This is the farmer's market down the street, and so I just set up my little easel and do these quick gouache paintings. And it's really fun. This is a wedding painting. I paint live at weddings. I don't finish them there. I do get a photo of the bride and groom or whoever and finish it in my studio, but I try to get a lot of the stuff that's chandeliers, flowers, background people, the basic architectural things in the place, get the kind of the feeling of it. So I have some brochures back there about that because I'm doing a lot of that now. That's my biggest and my most fun thing. There's nothing more fun than painting that. This I just did at the Harold Washington Library. It's beautiful as a Jewish ceremony. It's called a Bedekin ceremony, where the groom comes in, and right before they get married, he puts the veil over her face, and it's got some meaning. I'm not Jewish, so I don't really know. It's something with her independence. That's really beautiful, and they wanted that exact moment, so I had to get a photo of. But I painted her without the veil first, and I kind of took some license. She was a really pretty girl, so I didn't want to cover her up too much. So yeah, this is another. And here, this was fun. There's a name Roan right under my name. This little boy, I always had, if kids are there, I let them paint on the painting because it's just fun for everybody. And I can go get a beer or something while they're taking care of this stuff. So this little boy was so into it. So I says, buddy, just sign it. And he's like, really? And he got all excited. So his name was Roan, and that is his first name. He had a really cool name. So I had to send this to New Jersey. In fact, they just got it Sunday. So it was a big painting too. It was like 24 by 36 or something. So thank you. And then these are, I don't know what these are. That's my daughter. When she was littler, I did that from life of her, just kind of sitting for me. And I'll talk about this. Yeah, okay. I'll talk about color, temperature, and that when I start doing this painting. And you can see, and if you just go back, can you go back a second? Now, if you look at this, well, I don't know how well you see it here. This is very cool. The lights in her are very cool. Now, this looks kind of violet-y, but this is warm. And in the next painting, you'll see where, like, there's very warm light coming up this way, and you can see there's a green here. What I liked about this is this was kind of a made-up thing from a song I heard. So it's warm light coming up this way, so you could see the shadows here are cool. And there's this cool moonlight coming in this way. You can see the highlights are blue. I mean, it's very, very cool. And I had lit it that way in the studio. And I really like that. It's not as obvious here as in the original. But you could see the warmth here and then the coolness here. And that's a big thing in my painting. Really, I'm a value and temperature painter. That really, when I boil it down, that's what I'm looking for, value and temperature, besides good drawing and a composition and whatever it is you want to paint, from all that kind of stuff. But I mean, as far as, like tonight, I'll try to keep it simple and talk about really just three things. Okay. I mean, when I'm painting. And this was a pastor, Ray Hilton, at a church in Evanston, just a wonderful guy. I did not paint that from life. I did some sketches, but he couldn't sit that long. So I did some sketches, got some photos, and did it from a photograph. Let's see, what else? That's it? Okay. So now you could put the reference photo up. Okay. So, this photo, we happened to be in Paris in May. I've never been to Paris. And I was in the Rodin Museum, and I saw this fella, he works there, and he just was sitting next to this window with this cool blue diffused light. coming in on him, and I love that light. So I snapped a photo of him. I asked him, can I take a photo? And I like this. I mean, I think he's just a cool looking guy. And I'll talk about it more, but I don't know how well it might be burned out. But so he's got this cool light coming in here. You could see how light and cool temperature for a face. And as it rolls away from this cool light, the colors get warmer. So that's a real simple thing. Now, if this was sunlight streaming through there, it'd be the exact opposite. The skin color would be very warm and the shadows would lean towards cool blues, green, violet. That's the basic. That's it for me. It's just that simple. Cool light, you have cool lights, warm shadows. Warm light, you've got warm lights, cool shadows, basically. And I painted a lot from life, and that's what I see. But always, 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 if you're a representational painter, I mean, if you don't want to just make any colors you want, that's fine. But from what I've seen and what I've been taught, and I see it, no matter what the light, cool light, warm light, an overcast day, bright sunny day, winter, summer, the darkest darks always make them warm. Or else you're going, if you start making them really deep purple or black, God forbid, or deep blue, it's kind of deadly. So if you keep your deepest darks warm, irregardless of the light source, it's richer, and that's what I've seen outside. Maybe because I've been told that, I think I see it, but that's really what I see. Whether it's a figure, whether it's, if you look at Sargent's work, always in these creases, you'll see a lot of warm ochres. And anyway, I'll get going on this. So, and plus, not only is this guy cool looking, his name is Cosiol Chavignon. I mean, how cool is that? I mean, so there you go. All right. So I'm not trying to rush, but I guess I am kind of trying to rush because I know we don't have a lot of time. So today I did this kind of warm-up sketch of that. So I spent like an hour doing this, and I wanted to, since I have all these pastels, I don't know how, and they're not marked, and I've been doing a lot more oil painting lately, so I didn't want to waste a lot of time, like, oh, what color, So I kind of put the colors I was using in this, the basic colors, in here so I could save time. And I was just trying, again, to get this cool on this side and it's warmer on this side. So there's three things in this, in here. From the drawing aspect, his head's tilted. He's obviously not straight on looking at you. The features are all angled: eyes, nose, mouth, chin. They're all going to start, there's going to be an angle to them. That's from the drawing aspect. From the edge aspect, I found that when you get wherever the light source is coming from, like on this side, it's hitting the right side of his face, our left. I'm going to keep the sharper edges, the sharpest edges on this side of his face, like I did here. And this is going to go softer, even in his eyes. I'm going to, if I would finish this, which I won't tonight, this eye would get not more attention. It's going to have sharper edges, darker darks, a lighter light, as opposed to the eye that's going more towards the shadow side of his face. And I even did that here, kind of. You could see the side is kind of smushed out, even though I did it quickly. So it's a big thing to think of. And then the third thing is to not lose these cool lights and the warmer darks and the darkest, because really our heads are basically an egg shape. So his head, it's going like this, really. So when I look up there and I squint, your lightest, the darkest things are really right through here. Because if you figure if it was like a ball, you're going to get this light really dark, and then you're going to get like reflected light and middle value here. And if you look at, well, the reference is not there, but if you look at the reference, like I'm looking at it right now, from his eye down to his chin, when I'm just standing back here squinting at it, it's really dark. It's really light there, dark in the middle, and then the shadow or the side farther away from the light is warmer and not as dark as the dark, but not as light as the light. So really, it's basically like three values. And a lot of what I tell people is like, think big. That's when I teach and I see people, they get all caught up in these little details and they miss either the big drawing or the big shapes. And it's like building a house. You're not going to start a house with putting flowers and drapes. You're going to lay a foundation. It makes sense, right? And for me, now I know Richard Schmid, he started with the eyes and went out. I could never paint that way. I paint very traditionally. I start big and go small. Even with my colors, like I love, I'll talk briefly about I have all different sets of pastels up here. You guys could come during a break and I can talk to you about it. But most what I have are these Terry Ludwigs, which to me are like, they're extremely soft. They're big. There's not even numbers. I don't even know what these, if I had to buy this color again, I don't even know what color this is, but it's some kind of light, fleshy color, warm. So I like to, put in these big shapes and kind of, I don't ground it in right away, because these, any support you're painting on, whether it's, I like a sanded paper. This happens to be an ampersand sanded board. It's not my favorite, but it's okay. I've been a friend taught me how to make my own with pumice stone and on Gator board, you can kind of control it, but I didn't have time to do that for tonight. Any support can only absorb so much of this. After a while, if you keep layering and layering and layering, it's just not going to take anymore. Like on here, this is just a Strathmore paper. Up here, I tried to put a light on it, and it just, there was too much on there already, and it's just going to start scraping it off. So I kind of work thinly. I don't put it on real heavy at first. I kind of work my way up, and you could see in the magazine, the demonstration of one of my wife and daughter, I think there was a 4-step thing there. I kind of start out scratchy and sort of not real heavy. So, okay. And I start my oil paintings and pastel with charcoal. I draw with charcoal, and I got a very light touch. I kind of draw from my shoulder. I step back and draw. And so I'm going to get going here. So I'm looking at this head here, and I'm thinking, okay, how big? I'm going to go from the top of his head to the bottom of his chin. I'm going to make like a big, like an egg shape, really, without all the hair. And you start looking at all that stuff there. You're like, wow, there's so much. But again, I'm going to keep it simple. So I want to have the top of his head there. And I'm kind of getting this shape. So if I make his head, that's just a little too long. Okay. So I'm going to start with that. And I'm even when I squint a lot, even when I'm drawing, and what the squinting does, it kind of knocks out a lot of, not, well, for lack of a better word, useless detail. So I'm just kind of looking at these big shapes. I'm looking at big shapes. So I'm going to work big to small and keep kind of refining this as I go along. So it's almost like an action sketch. I start with this big shape of his head, down to his chin. Like, what is the distance? Well, I know because I already measured it. Eyes are generally in the center of your skull, generally. So if I eyeball this, and I had a brush here, and I can just measure this by hand. I'm not going to pull out a ruler. Okay, so I know the bottom of his eye on this side is at half. So I draw with charcoal, but I caution people, don't start falling in love with your drawing, because people start to get afraid to cover it up. Like, oh, I did this beautiful drawing, especially if I've been painted a lot. Now I'm afraid I'm going to mess it up. I've painted a lot, so I do less and less. I'm just looking for big shapes. I won't even draw on the eyes. I'm really looking at this whole socket shape here. So, okay, I'm getting too detailed already. So I'm going to look big. I'm going to go. I'm going to start. I'm holding this very light at the end. I mean, a lot of times it just falls out of my hand. It's very light, so I'm not scrubbing this charcoal in, because if I step back and think, I don't like the way it's positioned, it's too far left, right, I just wipe it off and start over, and I've done that. I just did that at a wedding. I had the bride and groom drawn in. Luckily, it was not very detailed, and they were too far over. And I moved them to the center, which I rarely do, and the bride said, when she saw the photo of what I was painting, she said, oh, I want us right in the center. I'm thinking, oh, good, because I would have started painting and I would have to repaint it. So anyway. Okay, so I'm thinking big. I'm squinting. I'm looking at these big shapes of the left side, right side of his face, left side as we're looking at it. And I'm just trying to get these big shapes, and how much hair is there to face. And even now, I'm conscious of the edges of this hair on our right side are very soft. It's very soft. So So I'm just going to get some key things in. I want to get the angle of his eyes. They're tipped. They're not straight. They're tipped. So I want to get this angle. Another thing, when I feel like I'm drawing, I'm doing something while I'm stepping back a lot. What was I talking about? Oh, the mirror. No, that's okay. Because when you see it backwards, a lot of times you'll see like, oh, wow, this side of the face is way too wide. So I'll just stand here. I'll hold the mirror like that. Or you could take your cell phone. You have a cell phone. And when it's, well, you want it black like that. You just put it up to your head like this. And now, right now, I'm seeing it upside down, both the reference and my drawing. And just even that, when it's flopped like that, your brain, sees it differently. So you can, sometimes things jump out, like the eyes are crooked or one side of the face is lopsided. So, okay. So I'm looking at big, step back. And when I step back and draw, I can see, you could see better. And I step back a lot. A lot of times you step back, they're like, oh my God, it looks really weird. So I try to step back a lot. So I'm looking at these big shapes. I don't want to put a lot of lines in here, because this is a painting. But I will measure, make sure some basic things are correct. Make sure these things are going the right way. And there are some basic things that line up. The flange of your nose lines up if you're looking straight at a person with the tear ducts. The corners of the mouth generally line up with the center of the eyes. So there's some things that are, you could use as to help. But I'm just trying to get the basic, make sure that I keep these angles, that the eyes are at the right angles, and that the big shapes are proportional. If you guys have any questions, you'll have to talk into the microphone, apparently. And I won't do, I'm just going to do as much as I can to get started. Let's see. And even with the hair, I'm just going to look at this big shape here. I'm not worried about all these little curls, and I just get as a big, what's the shape of his hair? And I could fake it, if it's too symmetrical, I don't like that. I might want one side down more than the other. I just want to make sure and then I'll measure how wide his head is. Like, I don't put all these curls in and stuff right now. I'm just thinking big shapes. Because if you start with a decent composition on there and placed well, it's a good foundation, and you just want to build on that. For me, even though I do commission portraits, when I'm painting, like a lot of those charcoal drawings you see, my big intent isn't like, oh, it looks exactly like them. That's not really, it doesn't really pull me. I rather, if I get the temperature and value correct and I have a good drawing, a nice rhythm, it's going to look like them. I'm more concerned about that than spending 5 more hours and getting in like this. The closer I get, the worse my work gets, usually. I'm better when I'm back farther. It's like live music as opposed to studio music. It's beautiful, but it's got a certain clinical sound to it, like a live, you know what I mean? That's why I like something even that's a little rougher, but it's got a feeling to it. Not that really, really tight paintings don't, but it's just not what I enjoy as much in painting. I don't have the concentration to do it that long, and it gets boring to me after a while. So, like, I was a storyboard artist, and this fella back here with the Cubs thing is a great storyboard artist. And I found that after I did the kind of rough drawings, if I had to render it and stuff, I'd start to get, I got bored. It wasn't as fun for me. I like the kind of sketching it out, the loose stuff. So that's how I like painting. I kind of like to get the feeling, not that it's sloppy. I want it to be sloppy. Okay. Okay, I'm going to do some measuring just to make sure here. So like I'm going to measure from the side of his cheek. There's the real obvious to like, what's the back of his head? I mean, it's kind of soft here, but I'm just going to kind of get a basic. Okay, that's working. Like how far is, am I still on his eyes or bottom of his eye? It's half. Okay. All right. And again, I'm not going to fall in love with the drawing. I want the big things correct. I don't care about all the little stuff. If these big shapes are correct, I'm just going to keep building on that. Okay. So that's all I need for the drawing. What's our time? 7:02. And what time do I have till? Okay, 8:30. Okay. Let's go get something to drink. Is there a bar, cafe upstairs? Yeah. Yeah, yes, I do. Okay. And okay, so the darkest darks, like I was preaching about before, are warm. And you can really see it. There's a reference. And it's probably hard to tell. It looks very blue on that. This really dark, this right here is very dark and warm. And I'm going to use this color that I used earlier today. And even, wow, it doesn't look that dark. That's okay. Is it this one? Oh, no, it wasn't either of those. Thought I put it in here. Oh, no, I am going to use this really warm one. Even with color, like when I mix oils or with this, when I mix, and this I think pertains to pastel, I'll mix a big pool of color because I don't really care if it's the exact color. You know, it's like, oh, I got to buy this pastel or I got to buy this color. Or I got to buy, you know, to me, if the value is correct and the temperature is correct, whether it's a little on the green or blue or violet side, if it's cool, it doesn't matter that much to me, but it really matters if the value is correct and the temperature is correct. That's what makes things, maybe this light is too strong. It's too long. All right. Starting, I'm squinting, I'm looking big shapes, big shapes here. Whoa, that's right, I went right into his mouth. I went to go kind of hard. I kind of ground that in, which I said I normally don't do, but I know that's going to be a hard, deep edge. See, like on this, I'm going to go soft. And on the hair, on the skull, you know, a lot of times most highlights, they go down like that. And if you make all your hair strokes the same way, it's just like spaghetti or something. So normally I'll make them go perpendicular. I'll look for where I can do that. Like here, I'm going to go this way with these strokes in his hair. And if you were up here, you could see that I'm not really, it's not really heavy, except for that edge. Oh, here's the towel. All right. So there's two really sharp edges here. There's this side of his face, and then there's a sharp edge under his nose here. So it's really warm under there, and then it's really cool right under it. And that's what I really love about paintings, when you could put a warm next to a cool. Even if they're the same value, a lot of times you could turn the form by temperature as opposed to just value, like a monochromatic thing. Like I see people say, gosh, you have so much color. Well, I painted a lot, so I see a lot, but they'll use like the same color and just make it darker or lighter. And it's not, well, you could do anything, but it's more interesting when you start seeing as the form turns, it gets cooler or warmer than what's next to it. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, everybody? Okay. I mean, sometimes I know when I started painting, I understood it, but I didn't really, it didn't show in my painting. I didn't, I'm like, wow, how, then a guy would come up to you, whether it's Dan Gerhardt's or Rommel or Schmidt or somebody, and they do a couple of things. I'm like, oh man, that looks so beautiful. Like, how come I didn't see that? So, it's not just that the stuff, you do kind of have to work at it, so it took, and I was one of those people that's a plotter, I knew it, but it didn't show up in my work. I'm thinking, gosh, how come I can't get it? Okay, that's too light. Darn, I thought I had the color in here. Boy, these colors are different under my light than they did in my studio, so. It's too, that's not it either. I want to go with the same color. So I'm squinting and I'm looking at this big shape. See, I'm almost using this thing like a brush, like a flat brush. Putting these warm darks. And I'm seeing this eye. Oh, this was. And in the eyes, look for a lot of warmth in eyes. Generally, really, eyes are really warm. There's a lot of blood around them. Okay. Whoa. Right either. Maybe I didn't help myself by doing that sketch because the light, or maybe it's this light, it's too bright. Something's. Colors aren't looking quite as dark as they did in my studio. Okay. All right. So I should start putting some light color in just to get the basic, like I had in my sketch. I already like my sketch better than what I'm doing here. So I want to get some light on this side. So your forehead turns. It's really like plates. There's this forward plate, and then you could feel it goes back, right? Forward is like this, and then it goes back that way. So it's going to be might be just a little warmer here. Whoa, this looks bright. Warmer there. I want to put in a light. Yeah, this grabs a lot more. Wow. How does that look? Boy, it looks really blue on there. Boy, wait till you see it on here. It looks a lot better here. I gotta remember the big stuff, not look at little stuff. It's big. Thinking big here. And even in the nose, where you can go across, so you're not always just painting down, even though it looks that way, it starts looking like war paint or something. When you get that stripe right down the nose. And I have found that the more you paint, and again, I do it for a living, so I get to paint and draw a lot. And I know it's practice because I was a plotter in everything I always did. I go, gosh, I can't get it. And I just keep working at it. And then it seemed like I'd slowly make some progress. It seems like the more I paint, the looser my work gets. And I know even if I don't paint for a week, I could tell the difference in my decision making. And I'm not a big blender. I don't really blend a lot. I will push them together a little bit. I'd rather use color to do it, but I will blend a little. Okay, so another thing, I'm just going to kind of talk as I think of things like eyes. People seem to have a lot of problems, or I noticed with eyes, in that sometimes a basic thing, they'll make the whites of the eyes too bright. And a big thing to do in anything you're doing is compare, like how light is this compared to that? When you start comparing things, you know, like the whites of the eyes, like how really light is that white of his eye compared to this light up here? Your eyes are set back. So unless somebody's putting a flashlight right in your face, the whites of the eyes are never going to be that white, that light. They're going to be down 2 or 3 values, probably more. Just compare, let your eye go back and forth. Like even to this light and right here in the nose, where your nose comes out of your skull, you could feel how it's here and then it juts out. So what's happening here, value and temperature wise, right where it comes out and it hits the light, it's really bright and cool. I'm going to put that in. It's probably kind of bright. And right above that, because it kind of dips in here, right? It dips in on a man more maybe than a woman. It's going to get a little darker and warmer. So it's going to be brighter and cooler here. And then it's just going to get a little, it's just going to get a little darker and warmer there. Does that make sense? Or, okay, or am I losing people? Are people, nobody's fallen asleep yet? Yeah, that's good. Because I did a workshop in a North Shore, for a North Shore suburb, which I won't mention. And my first class, 20 minutes into my first demo from a live model, I turn around and this woman is sound asleep. Thinking, wow, that's a bad way to start. Wow. No, one of the people in the audience, one of the students was sound asleep. 20 minutes into my first demo. Okay, so I want to establish. I'm even going to put this. So if I'm going to blow it, well, see if you guys, when you come up here to break, it's really cool here. I'm using this like a lime green. I'm seeing this green. Now I'm going to temper this down a bit, but I'm going to start with this cool this green here. And you could see it if you come up and look at the sketch. I'm going to start with that. Yeah, I'm getting too tight already. I got to loosen up. And again, a lot of these decisions are based on just like factual stuff, but it makes sense. Your eye turns around. So if I blow this up, there's a highlight on the lid of his eye. It's cool. And then as your eye, it's a ball, it goes that way. It's going to get darker and warmer. That makes sense, right? I mean, it's, that's, oh, you got all this color. Well, that's where the color comes from. I mean, it's right there. You know what I mean? And again, whether I use a violet, which is, oh, that is what I used before for that highlight. You know, whether it's a violet or a blue or well, I shouldn't put that light in. I got bigger things I should be doing here. Okay. I'm gonna get his lip in here. So when I'm doing the lips, I heard a great thing. Are you guys familiar with Richard Schmidt? Some people are. Richard Schmidt is a great painter. I took a workshop with him and he said, paint lips like they're about to talk or be kissed. And I thought, so what he meant was make them soft. Don't like outline them like you're drawing it in magic marker. You know, look for areas where you can just let edges bleed into the mouth, into the chin underneath. Because you start outlining it, it doesn't look right, you know, especially when you start really trying to get detailed. You know, if you kind of make an impression. So when I put them in, I try to, what color was that? That was a nice color. Where did I get that from? I put them all in here so I could use them tonight. Now they seem different. I try to do both the upper and lower lip at the same time. So it's a hole, and I just keep it soft. I'm just squinting and looking. I'll keep it a little darker at first. Soft. All right. Gotta get that warmer. So this dark part of his face, I want warmer on the side of his nose here. I want to get warmer, redder color. See, I could use these. It's like a big brush. And that's why I don't put it in real heavy. I'm going to start covering this thing up. It's too light. Make this light cooler, warmer. Okay, I'm losing this edge established, nothing else. Yeah, if you have any questions, Barry back there will bring you the microphone.
Yeah, if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand and I'll be happy to bring the microphone over to you. You just need to have all questions spoken into microphone so we know what the question is as well as the answer, both here and at home. We have over 60 people watching from at home, so we want to be sure they know all that's going on.
I'd like to get some hint of some cool color in here. So a lot of times you could tell the temperature of the light by the highlights in the hair. Like these are cool. They look kind of greenish, little blue-ish. This side seems pretty warm. So I'm gonna put that in. Get the tape in. Drop. There. I'm looking for these edges that are really soft. Right. And usually, like on this thing, right where that, oh, well, I just went over it. This really cool part of his nose that juts out of his skull right here. Right next to that, it's a really deep, rich warm. So you get this warm right next to this, to a cool. And that's always a really, I just love that. And you know, it might be hard to see up on that reference up there because it looks really blue from where I'm standing. It doesn't really look like there's a lot of color. But when you come up here at the break and look at this reference, you'll see how different it is. Should be stepping back more. I gotta step back. Looser. And this is a minor thing, but when you step back, don't look at your painting, kind of let your eyes take a little break from it. Put
Michael, if I can't interrupt, we have a couple of questions from our virtual audience.
Yes.
The first one is, can you remind us the brand name of the pastels that you're using?
Yes, mostly our Terry Ludwig pastels. I also have Sennelier. These are called Great American, but the 90% of what I use are the Terry Ludwig pastels.
Terry Ludwig. Okay, thank you so much. And then someone else is asking about the flesh colors that you're putting in. This person says they look rather warm, not cool. So perhaps you could explain the process of the choices that you're making there with the coloration.
Yeah, even in the lights, they look cool or they look warm.
Yeah, they're saying that they look rather warm.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm trying to, I might. Well, from here they look, yeah, I guess they still do look warm. I haven't put in the greens yet.
It
But-
may be in part because I think over Zoom, your reference photo is bluer than it is in
Yeah.
actuality.
Yeah, and yeah. So yeah, there are some, yeah, it's not as green or as blue as that. That's really, really blue. You guys will see that, and this is pretty accurate, this photo I took of him, when you see it, when you come up and look at it. So I'm
Michael,
sorry if, you know,
Can you tell us what color you're using as you pick it up, kind of a cool or warm?
yeah, I
it
could
doesn't
at
have
least
to
say
be-
cool or warm.
You don't
Yeah,
have to call it by name, but
Yeah,
just cool
okay.
or warm.
yeah. All right, let's see. What am I gonna do now? Establish here. So I'm gonna establish a cool. So I'm gonna use, I put a green down here and I'm gonna go over that with this, it's a little too, with a really cool pink. I'm gonna have a sharp edge here. So right above that color I just put down, there, it's really warm. And let's see, what was that real dark? Establish this edge. I want to reestablish this. So this is a dark, warm color I'm putting in to get this edge. Establish this edge here, it's sharp. And let me make it warm down here. Okay. And even edges, when I'm starting to look at where this nose, it kind of almost bleeds part of it right into his, the light side of his face. Make this a little sharper, and I could start adjusting this stuff. Like if this is too accurate, it's too green, I'll change it later. Softness to this thing. Even at the eyes, I'm just squinting at his eyes. So I could use this big, you know, I'm just squinting and getting at the big shape. I get this big shape. This hair back here. Whoa. Hair is nice when you start to lose edges. You let things kind of, because it's airy, right? It's soft, and you could have some sharp edges in there, but look for where you could really get really soft and then a couple hard edges. Because I think just that combination of things that are warm next to cool, sharp next to soft. That makes things interesting, I think. I want to keep this side soft, soft, soft. All right. What's our time here? How many breaks do we what do you usually do as far as a break?
Oh, you're welcome to take a break anytime.
anytime,
We
okay.
could focus on the palette or some of the other finished pieces that you brought us as well. If this
Okay.
is a good time for a break.
Okay. Now? You wanna do-
Sure. You know what? I
Or
have one more.
7:30.
I have just one more question from the virtual audience. So
Yep.
let's take that right before
Sure.
the break. It says that edge along the face, will it be softened or broken later like a lost edge? I'm just reading it.
Yes,
so-
a part of it will. And that's going to be like up over here by this eye because it looks soft there. Like right here, like it almost bleeds right into. Yeah, so I will go back and forth with that edge, with this edge, even though it's mostly sharp, I can cut in. I'll soften some areas, like this forehead, I'll soften parts of it. But it will be sharper than most of the stuff on this side. Does that answer?
I believe so. And if we don't answer the question fully, please, put it back in the Q&A and we'll ask it again until we make sure that we get the answer that you need. So I think we'll be taking a break right now. I'm going to switch the camera over to our finished work.
In that break, I looked at the phone at this, and I noticed this angle of this forehead is way too, it's in too much. It's too much of an angle. It really jumped out when I looked at it. So that's no big deal. Just take some warmer color here where the head's spinning around a little. I'll go out. So the head rolls this way and our forehead goes that way. So as it starts to get towards the scalp line, it gets warmer, and pretty much always, generally the hair will cast a warm shadow on usually a really hot shadow on skin. Like under here, again, you can't, maybe in there it looks really cool, temperature-wise, blue, but it's really warm under there. So I'm going to put that in. And then there's some cool highlights over it. So I'll put a warm base underneath it, which I'm seeing. And I'm going to get this up a little bit more temperature. A little brighter. Knock it down. It's too bright. So again, our forehead isn't flat. It kind of curves. So it's getting hit by light. It's really cool here and light. And then as it goes down, it gets a little darker and a little warmer. Okay. Okay, I'm going to work on the eyes a little bit here. I have much. Okay, so I've got, it seems like the colors, I don't know if it's this light is really bright. It seems like the colors, when I put them down, they're not as dark as the way they look when I hold them. So I want to get a warm inside here, and this might be a little dark. Yeah, it's a little too dark. That is too dark. Again, our eye, this eye turns around, so it's warmer in here. And then it's cooler up here and lighter because the eye is it's a ball, so it's going to be hit by this cool light. But again, your eye is set back, so this light here isn't going to be as bright as that light up there. In fact, this one's getting a little too. So I got to watch that these lights in the eyes don't get, I have to keep comparing them to what's the brightest. I should put this bright in his nose. Going over this. And I'm not going to paint it all down. Look for where I can go across this nose. It almost goes, I'm going to make it go right into the other side of the face there. Really deep and warm here. Okay. I want to get there's this, where the eye folds, it's really hot. It's really hot there. And even in this reference, at the next break, this eyebrow, it's warm underneath here because it's kind of going like that. It's warm here, and you could see blue on the top of the eyelid because it's getting hit by this cool light. And these little, no, it's too light. Little things like that help to give you a sense of light, because that is what it is. It's warm and cool. And it can be hard to see, right, Steve? You think it's difficult to see when you're haven't painted a lot? We paint together, Steve. You think? Yeah, I feel like I'm not really pushing the color, but I'm feeling like I'm not getting it dark enough right in this area. Like I'm seeing it darker there. So I've got to get it darker and warmer. I think I've got his nose is too long. A bad thing about these Terry Ludwig, if there is a bad thing, they're $6 a stick, and they're so soft. I dropped one today on my studio, this green, and they just splatter on the floor. I have a wood floor in my studio at home, and that gets like, wow. All right, so what did I use this for? Why did I take this? Jerry, why did I take this color? I don't know. What was it? Oh, yeah. Thanks. Man. With the lips, there are some, usually you're going to use a sharp at the corners. But you don't want to really make that whole line across the whole center of the lip. It just doesn't look, I don't want to say pretty because he's a guy, although he's a kind of a pretty man. But what's that? No, it doesn't look natural. That's right. Yeah. Yeah, like he's in French. French colors are pretty. Okay, let me work on his eye. I am squinting. Keep it soft as much as you can. Keep eyes soft. I gotta establish that cool highlight. That's what's gonna make this eye roll around. Gotta watch not to get it too light. And right above that cool, there's a real, it's almost orange. When you come up here and look at this, that crease above, when you open your eye, it's almost orange. It's so hot. Let's see if I got something. All right. That's, so I'm gonna start putting this little indication of his mustache. I mean, it's kind of a cool green that seems on this side. And then it does, it kind of turns under, so it's gonna get a little darker, a little warmer. That makes sense, right? I mean, it's temperature and value, right? But I know it gets really frustrating because I still get really frustrated with as much as I've painted. I think, how come it's so hard sometimes? I just can't seem to get it. And or make it look as beautiful as I see it. That's what's the frustrating, because that is what I'm always looking for, to try to make stuff as beautiful as I see it. And he's looking like Jesus over here from where I am. This. Whoa. Okay. I'm gonna. Oh, I don't use this a lot, but this is like a mall stick. This was a Richard Schmidt thing. He had to get a bad back and use a cane, and it's nice to like again on his eye, his bottom lid is catching light, so it's so I can use this to, it steadies your hand. So under here, there's this cool, just a little cool, again, it's very hard for you guys to see it probably on that reference. That's too high. There's a cool light. And then since it goes down and then your cheek comes out again, it's going to be warmer. And then it comes out and it's going to be cooler. So it's really gets kind of logical after a while. And, you know, it's not that it's always a method thing, but a lot of it is, that's just the way it is. And it makes sense. And it makes it easier to, because you look at colors like, gosh, I don't know what color that is. So I always, you know, that the warm and cool really helps me to determine, you know, what I'm doing, like what's the value and what's the temperature. It boils down to that. I think Richard Schmidt said there is no such thing as a muddy color. It's not muddy, it's the wrong temperature relative to what's next to it. So there's no such thing as mud. It's, or milky. It's the wrong temperature and the wrong value relative to what's next to it. So, because I hear that people say, oh, my paintings, you know, my skin is very milky. Well, you probably don't have enough darks in it, or it's just the wrong value and the wrong temperature. So, I mean, I think it's all really, I think it's all promising stuff because, you know, it can be so daunting. Like people think, oh, I'm not talented, or, which I don't believe that. And what I've seen the artists who I know who are really good artists, and Jerry is one, seriously, is they just work at it a lot. And I think that the passion comes in out. So maybe that's a talent. They just don't give up. They keep drawing and drawing and drawing and keep working and working because you like it. Or, you're making a lot of money or, but I think I don't even know that it's that really for artists. The ones I know anyway, it seems like, yeah, they make good money, but I think it's really more they love what they're doing. They just want to get better and better and better. I mean, that's what I see. And I think that's because could be a lot of disappointment, a lot of discouragement, and time you just want to quit. All right, step back. What am I doing here? All right, now something looks really crazy. It went from looking pretty nice, now it just looks goofy. How did that happen? Hi. Hi. Goofy here. What's going on? Missing here. Its mouth, I think, is too low. Wow. Yeah, this is that point where I want to start throwing things and thinking, what the heck am I doing? Yeah, I mean, really, it gets like, it seems like it was okay, and now it's, yeah, thanks. Is that Ellen? You said, yeah, good, yeah. yeah, that's it. I think this nose is too long. Here. But the thing is, I've done it enough that I always feel I can get it because it's not some feeling, I lost. It's the drawing or color or value. It's a very literal thing. It's nothing intangible. There's a tangible reason I don't think it looks good. I'm just not exactly sure what that is, but it's got to do with the drawing. All right. This mouth. I mean, I did that in an hour, and that looks way better than what I'm doing here. What the heck? What am I missing here? What's the big thing that's wrong? I gotta lighten that nose. The eyes are a little too close. All right. So I'm gonna lighten the nose. I'm using a cool light, and then I have to establish. So as the nose, it turns under, so it gets really warm. This light on top of your nose turns under. So it gets really warm, and it's really warm on this whole side. I had this nose too. The nose too long. We establish, yeah, keep going over this part. All right. Is this getting boring watching this or okay, good. It might have been here at the Wheaton Library. What's that? Oh, well, we'll see if that happens. I don't know. It might not, but that would be cool if if it's like, this doesn't really look good. I have asked some really well-known artists, like, do you ever do you just do a stinker, go outside and you paint and you're just like, wow, this is really no good? And they're like, yeah. So I'm like, well, good. I mean, seriously, because then it makes you feel like, wow, these guys are really big time. They do some stinkers too. So Yeah, this is. But they can always be saved. You can always, well, generally you can save them. Sometimes it's, you know, you don't want to keep battling, you want to start over. What was that? You can even see like a blue here. I see in here. Okay. Oh, I was starting to say, I did a demo here. It might have been here. I'm not sure. It was a library out somewhere out this way of my wife. And she was sitting there and I was drawing her. And there was a fella. And I hear, let's see, is he here? I don't know him, but I don't think he's here. And he's standing in the back of the room and I hear him say, man, this is like watching paint dry. And I kind of chuckled to myself. I thought, that was pretty good. I'm like, you know, I could hear you, you know. Oh, that wasn't you, was it, Jerry? No. And then not that time. All right. This nose is wrong here. I got to get more warmth on this side of his face. That's what I'm seeing here. And darker. Where this comes from. It's kind of greenish. I'm going to put a warm on top of that. Generally, this is the, you know, they say that the forehead's more ochre. This nose, cheeks have more blood in it. And then the bottom of the face is generally, they say, more gray, or if it's lit more from above. That's the, you know, so you get a little more saturation in this middle of the face. And see, like a really bright color like this is like, wow, you know, you can kind of put it in soft and knock it down. This eye, something's goofy here. That's in the wrong spot, I think. I should start putting some blue up in his hair. I'm seeing this. And some blue. And some violet. And the nose holes too are another area. Always make those warm. Anytime, you know, you're going in to the body, tear ducts, nose holes, ears, lip crease, it's going to be warm. Where the flange of the nose, I've always seen this warm. Where the flange of the nose right here tucks into the face or cuts into the face, it's a real warm. It's really hot right there. I mean, I've seen that so much. And again, a lot of this is, you know, what people showed me or pointed out to me rather. And then as I painted and painted, I'm like, oh, okay, now I see it. I see it. And it's cool, honestly, for me to be able to share this kind of stuff because it was exciting when I learned, you know, from Dan Gerhart's or Schmidt or whoever. Mostly Dan, I have to say, for me personally. I learned a lot from Dan. You know, it made sense to me, the things he said, they were kind of like this kind of linear or literal stuff, you know, temperature and value. And that kind of really made sense to me. And I like that. Okay, let's see. This is too. Another thing when you're painting from life, like a portrait, if you turn and look at it that way, you can see, or outside, you could see the gradation of light. Generally, I mean, there's a painting here, like this one was lit from underneath. So it's the opposite, like it's bright here and then the colors and the value starts to fall away, the light starts to fall away. Or generally we light things, you know, like this one, light is, he's getting hit from above. But when you turn upside down like that, you can really see, like a lot of times people paint the, you know, chin like too bright relative to the, if it's lit from above, to the highlights on the top of the head. They'll see a light down here and they'll make it as bright as a highlight on the top because they're not relating it to. So you got to keep relating things. Okay, what is looking so weird about this? That eye is in it. Whoa, it's in a totally wrong spot. That's what it is. That. Okay, this eye. It seems too hard. It's softer. We need some more color on this side. Warm. Light. Weird shape. All right. Let me get this mustache. Stop squinting. Squint. Why it's so quiet? Steve, is it ever this quiet at Northlight? Is never. It's quiet. No. Yeah. No. some lip color in there. This nose is driving me nuts. I keep getting the shape wrong. I'm getting the shape incorrect. See, this, when I get frustrated that I keep going over this area so many times, no, I should just do it once, leave it, but it's not right. You got to keep screwing around. It's too dark. It's got to be too dark. Yeah. Yeah. And this is how I guess I've been forgetting to tell you what colors I'm using here. Warm or cool. I'm trying to get a cool light for that bottom lip. Too crazy. Ah. Right. Okay. How are we doing on time? We good? Got, it's 10 after. We go to what time? This, crazy. What are you doing with that? That's gonna be way too light.
I do have just a couple questions from our virtual audience.
Okay.
Someone is asking, how can you lift pastel if the tooth of the paper gets too much pastel buildup on it?
How can you lift it? Well, I think it depends. If it's a real sturdy board, I think you can. If it's a board, I think you can kind of wash it off. But a paper, I think you're kind of sunk if it's saturated with too much. I'm not sure. That's one of those things I haven't run across. If I saturate it too much, I just start over, or I don't like it, and I won't use that one. I don't know if that helps. If it's a board, if it's a real sturdy support, you could probably wash it off. Does that answer the question, or no?
I believe so. Thank you. And someone else is asking, do you use a spray? Do you spray your pieces with a fixative when you're done?
I don't, because I asked a framer, it's actually Nancy King Mertz, who's a really good pastelist and does beautiful framing. And she said to not spray them. Just when you're done, just kind of like this, which is why I have this metal flashing thing I got at Ace Hardware, and I just cut it. She said, just tap it or kind of tap it and let the pastel fall off. But that's such an individual thing. There was a really wonderful artist. I took a day workshop with a great pastelist. He literally frames, and apparently it's an old French way, he frames his painting up against the glass pastel, right up against the glass. And Nancy said, that's crazy. It's got to get mold in it or something. But he's very particular, and I can't believe he hasn't researched it. So I don't spray them. That's my answer. That's my answer. But a lot of people do. I don't. On Nancy's advice. Okay. Okay, what am I doing with this eye here? So eyes, even if, you know, a person has blue eyes, you know, some people have these really, really blue eyes. And I've seen people, you know, they, wow, look at that. And they put this kind of wild color, or it's really too blue. Even if their eyes are blue, I always start with a warm color. Because it's really, seems rare to me that somebody has this really blue eyes like that. It just, there might be a little speck of that in there, but I always start with a dark warm, and I can make it lighter as I go. And even the whites of the eyes, like as I'm looking at the white of his eye here, which looks really blue, I have to look for warmth in there. Because it is cool in a spot, but it does start to turn. I don't want to make that too light. Again, I have to watch how light I make that white of his eye, so it doesn't. It seems too light, and then it gets really hot, like by the tear duct. It's really warm as it gets in here. And it's cooler, or it's warm underneath this edge. Whoa. And there's that little cool. Oh, I put that in last time. That looked weird. I'm using this light violet here, and I made it too light, but I could kind of knock it down, kind of knocking it back. And then squinting at his eyes, squint. Mouth is way too low. Bottom. Because I generally really like painting mouths, and this mouth is coming out. It's not getting what I want. So, okay, it's got to be. There's the angle on it. I'm using this kind of pinkish color. It shows yellow, yeah. Better. A little darker. Okay, so I made that warmer, and right above the lip here, there's this little, catches this little light. I just gotta watch how light to make it. Soft. Whoa. Color. Okay. If this right here is a sharp edge. And here, right next to this really cool, right there, it's really warm right here. So there's this warm. And then it's really cool right next to it. Oh, and even when you're, here's another good bit of advice I got. When you're painting from a photo like this, if you have a commission or whatever, you're painting for yourself, try to do it like you're working from a model, and that you'll take a break like every 25, 30 minutes, which I'm not really doing here, because the more you stand over it now, I could feel it now. I'm kind of I'm doing the same thing over and over, making the same mistake over and over. I'm not stepping back enough, and I'm working on it too much. I've done the same thing over and over. Like this was more immediate. Whoa, this was a more immediate thing, and I'm kind of beating this to death. So take breaks when you're painting from a photo. Do it like you're painting a model from life. And we never paint for an hour straight, right, Steve? We never do that. Because it's hard to really sustain, 3 hours is really, and outside 3 hours, the lights shifted, and it's a different painting after 3 hours. So really it always seems to be this 3 hour thing, whether we're working inside.
Michael, someone in our virtual audience is asking, generally speaking, do you consider yourself to be an impressionistic artist?
Yes. Schmidt, I think, coined this phrase, kind of realistic impressionism. And that's what I go for, honestly. I'm just trying to get an impression of this. So yes, I do.
And some of our at-home folks were noticing during the break that you were holding your phone in a certain way to look at the piece. Could you explain a little bit what you were doing?
Yeah, if you hold your phone when the face of the phone is black to your forehead, you'll see your image upside down. And if you look at your reference, whether you're painting from life or from a photo or a landscape, you can see the values, and you'll see it upside down. You can tell just seeing it flipped upside down like that helps to see some drawing inaccuracies or value inaccuracies. So that's what that's for. You can also use I have a piece of black plexiglass. And that's good too. It's bigger. Or in the mirror, you look backwards in the mirror. That's a really good thing for your drawing.
Great, thank you. Any questions in our in-person audience? Just raise your hand and I'd be happy to bring the mic over to you.
You used a dark or fairly dark media to begin with. Was there a reason for that?
This,
Mhm.
well, actually, I wanted to use a sand, but they didn't have it, and I wasn't going to get it in time if I order it. A warmer color, since this was a cool lit painting. But I like, instead of white, I like to have, I always usually put a value down first. Does that answer your question or not really? Yeah, okay. All right. Little, oh, it almost looks violet. There's light that's coming across his face here. This top of his cheekbone is getting hit by its cool light, and it's a violet-y color. This is too light. And you, relative to what's underneath it, where the face kind of dips down, where your face rolls down, you could feel the bone at the bottom of your below your eye here, that catches a lot of light, and it's catching, even though it's in the more shadow side, it's still catching some cool light. It's a subtle thing, and this isn't as bright as what's on that side, or not nowhere close to this highlight on his nose, but it's still a little lighter and a little cooler than what's underneath it. And stuff like that, that's really beautiful. I mean, it just makes it interesting instead of making it just all the same color and different values. Okay, let's see.
Michael, is your reference image on an iPad? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and is there a particular reason why you use the iPad rather than a photo?
Yes, because when I paint live at weddings, I'll take pictures of like the bride and groom dancing, and then it's right on my iPad, and I've got it right there. It's on the stand. I blow it up, so it's just very convenient. Or like for something like this. Now at home, I have an actual TV monitor that's plugged into my MacBook Pro, and so I can, it's big. It's like this, but their TV monitors are cheap, so then I just slide the image up there, and I could have it. I could have the head this big, which generally isn't good, because then you start putting in all this detail that really doesn't help anything. It just usually.
Great, thank you.
It just, you think you need this detail, and generally you'd think that would be what makes it, but I found for me, it's really not. And I've killed more paintings that I've started from life. And I think I'll have some reference like, oh man, what's going to make it better? And that's what I tell people now. Whenever you take a painting and you've done it from life, and you're going to take it and think you're going to add to it, really think before, what are you trying to do? Because invariably, and this is what I did, I start getting way too tight, and I blow it up, and I'm starting to get in there, and I step back, and it just looks like it killed everything. My wife's come in and said, you had something, and now it's dead. And once it's gone, it's hard to get that back, because there was a freshness to it. Maybe it wasn't perfect anatomically, but it had a freshness. And so now if I'm going to work on this more, well, it's all from a photo anyway. So it's like, what are you trying to accomplish here? you know, what is it when you're going to add? What is it that you're going to do? You want it tighter? Is the drawing bad? Is the color bad? Because if you don't think, and a lot of times I just didn't, I just start painting instead of thinking what I was trying to accomplish by putting more time into it, I killed it. It just got way too tight, or way too, you know, if tight's the right word. It just lost that feeling of freshness. Like, you know, this, even though this is really loose, I don't know, it has a certain Frenchness. Got something. Cozy. Well, I don't know if you guys were all here, but this guy's actual name is Coziol Chavignon. That's his name. Yeah, he does. He's a, you know, yeah, he's a good. Wait, say it again. Is the, oh,
You're asking about the background color. Hang on, I'm bringing the mic.
Does the paper color itself influence more green or more blues in a pastel colors? I mean, this is the first time I've ever
that's-
seen this, so I'm just sort of
first time you've
curious.
ever seen a dark?
First time I've seen a pastel.
Oh, demo.
No,
really?
yeah.
Oh, kind of.
So I'm just wondering, like, if
Does it
if-
influence?
because you have more blue in the one that you're doing right now compared to the one that had more green.
Yeah. You know what? I'm sure it influences what's next to it. I don't know if I'm making that, if that makes sense. I'll have to think about that. That's kind of a brain teaser.
Any other?
But that's a good question, though. That is a good question. And I just picked this more for the value. I like that it's a dark value. That's what I liked about this. What's
Any
our
other
time? Are we-
questions from our in-person audience?
Yes.
Just raise your hand and I'll
Oh.
bring the mic over. Yes.
Two questions. Do you ever use pastel pencils? And do you sometimes do an underpainting, or do you just stick with the color of the ground?
I don't remember ever using a pastel pencil, to be honest with you. And I haven't painted and then put pastel on top of it. I don't know why. I think that's a good idea. I think that would be pretty fun to do that, like an acrylic, but I don't know how, I'm not sure what kind of a surface you'd have to,
Well, like art paper, for instance, you could use, and I know some people, they'll use darks and so on to get the general shape of something, whether it's
Yeah.
a landscape or a face or whatever.
right,
And then they'll
right.
go over it with alcohol or water
Yeah.
or mineral spirits
Yeah.
or something.
I think that's a good idea. I personally haven't done that. I just use, you know, the big sticks.
And Michael, we will put the reference photo that you gave us as a long still shot towards the beginning of the recording. And then at whatever point you're satisfied with it, if you'll send us the finished painting here tonight, we can add that as a long still shot at the end of the recording as well.
Okay, great. We're not done, are we? Are we done? We're done?
You have,
Whoa.
you know, if you'd like a couple more minutes, but
So where are we going now? Are we all going out somewhere? Is there a bar around here? Okay, yeah, cocktail would be nice. Now, so do I have to start really cleaning up right now? Or no?
well, you're welcome to go for a few more minutes.
few more
At this point, though, I will say that following tonight's program, or earlier tomorrow morning, I'll be sending out contact links, as well as information about the DuPage Art League. If people are logging off, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Again, our next art demonstration is going to be Monday, November 20th with fiber artist Joel Fremian, and that will be virtual only. But again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you to the DuPage Art League. If you'd like to stay tuned in. We'll continue for a few more minutes. And you can go ahead
a
and
couple.
continue to put in questions in the Q&A, as well as in our in-person audience if you'd like to raise your hand. But again, thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Yay. And thank you guys for coming here. But just this color temperature, now you'd never see it up there, but even this turtleneck he has on here, can I spin this around to show them at this point, to show these guys this turtleneck, it's cooler here, and then here you can almost see like yellow ochre or raw sienna, not raw sienna, but it's got a warmer influence as it curves down. And right behind it, this shadow is warm. And then this is cool. Then it goes back to warm. So it's always this bounce of like cool, warm, cool highlight. It goes up. There's this bright cool with this real hot warm right next to it. And you know, with all the stuff I'm telling you, you'd think this thing would look a lot better. But that's right. I mean, you could see, you know, how cool this is compared to how warm that is. And, you know, the warm here, and then there's this cool highlight. And like on this turtleneck, it's cool up there. It's not just a darker blue, it's a little darker and it's warmer because it's going away from the cool light. So like to do this shirt, you know, if you just make it like this, took the same value, the same blue and made 3 values of it, that'd be okay. But it's much more interesting if it goes from cool to like a warm here, like a little yellow ochre. And like in this area where there, you could almost see that raw sienna or yellow ochre in there, right? Like it's a warm green as opposed to these minty blue where it's getting hit by the cool light. Yeah, okay. All right. So, yeah, I hope that, you know, helped you guys. And, you know, I didn't really put any really brights in his hair yet. And this top of his head is kind of weird looking. I left this off. Needs some things up here. But even at this top of his hair, you could see how, oh, if I could slide this down, you could see how cool. I mean, this almost looks violet. It's a little extreme, but it's got like a cool cast to me, as opposed to things in here, which are warm, or these real deep warms. And this is that pinkish or violety I was talking about, that right there. It's this right here, and then it dips down and it gets warmer and darker here. And this was that warmth. You know, you see when you blow it up, how hot that nose hole is, and the warmth here. And this top is getting hit by a little cool light, and it's a little more violet than as it goes underneath, and it gets warmer and darker. You know, it's all that. It's really warm in here, and it gets cooler, and it gets warmer as it turns. This was that. You see how hot that line is? This is cool, almost a violet, and then it gets warmer as it turns around. There's this cool highlight on top of his, and then as it goes underneath here, it's almost like a warm green. So, you know, all this stuff, I should have been paying attention to what I was talking about. Well, there's some wacky drawing going on here. His eyes are too low, but anyway, yeah, and you guys can come up here and look at the reference and this goofy drawing.